From Illinois Public Media News, this is 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. It's Thursday, September 5th. Coming up, we'll learn about a joint investigation between IPM News and the Invisible Institute about former Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson's history of credibility issues. That story in just a few minutes, but first, these headlines. President Biden is visiting Wisconsin today to announce a round of clean energy grants for rural electric cooperatives. As IPM's Jim Meadows reports, one recipient serves a portion of northwestern Illinois.
The Wisconsin-based Dairyland Power Cooperative serves parts of 4 states, including Illinois. It's one of 16 member-owned rural electric utilities, receiving more than $7 billion in clean energy grants from the Inflation Reduction Act. White House Deputy Assistant Christina Costa says the grant will allow Dairyland to expand its plans for wind and solar facilities and increase its emission reduction goal from 50 to 80%.
It is going to help reduce the carbon pollution coming from rural electric cooperatives. It is going to create jobs and deliver direct economic benefits to these communities.
The Dairyland Co-op is receiving nearly $573 million from the New Era Grant Program. I'm Jim Meadows, IPM News.
The Decatur City Council has strengthened the city's animal cruelty laws. Councilmember Wendy Morthland says the updated ordinance introduces more details on what constitutes animal cruelty and appropriate shelters for pets.
The language in the amendment makes it, or should make it, abundantly clear to those who are responsible for the care and treatment of animals what is and is not acceptable treatment for them.
Councillor David Horn says the additions will help eliminate any gray areas and improve pet welfare. Members of the Decatur and Macon County Animal Shelter Foundation attended this week's meeting to support the updated ordinance. The U.S. Department of Education announced on Tuesday the University of Illinois had not met its obligations to assess hostile actions on campus against Jewish and Muslim students. The DOE Office for Civil Rights reviewed 135 potentially anti-Semitic incidents and 4 that were potentially Islamophobic. John Coleman is the provost at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. He says the university is responding by training faculty, staff, and students about anti-Semitism and how it's experienced by the Jewish community.
Every group who's feeling a certain kind of, whether it's harassment or concerning behavior, we take all of those seriously. We make sure that those individuals in those groups feel that the university has their back and supports them and is including them fully in the life of the university.
The university also plans to increase monitoring efforts through surveys to prevent discriminatory incidents in the future. Still to come, we'll learn about a joint investigation between IPM News and the Invisible Institute about former Sangamon County Sheriff's Deputy Sean Grayson's history of credibility issues. That story is coming up next on 217 Today.
Next time on the 21st show, it's been a decade since the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge, which raised awareness and an enormous sum of money for research into the neurodegenerative disorder. We'll talk with an expert on ALS about the effects of that viral moment and where things stand in the search for a cure. I'm Brian Mackey. That's next time on the 21st show. Join us.
You're listening to 217 Today. I'm Kimberly Schofield. The shooting death of Sonya Massey by a Sangamon County Sheriff's deputy in July has prompted nationwide outrage. Massey, an unarmed black woman, was shot and killed by Sean Grayson in her home after she called for help. But Massey's death wasn't Grayson's first issue as a police officer. Farah Anderson reports for IPM News and the Invisible Institute. Grayson had a history of credibility issues and brought a case with no evidence against a man at a previous Central Illinois department.
Kyle Atkins saw police lights flashing behind him on the night of May 8, 2021, but he wasn't sure why. He was in Kincaid, Illinois, on his way to pick up his kids from their mother's house when then Kincaid police officer Sean Grayson stopped him. Atkins told IPM News that Grayson said there was a warrant out for his arrest for selling methamphetamines.
He just kept, we know you're doing this. And it's like, well, obviously you don't, because I'm not doing that.
Grayson's body cam is recording while he processes Atkins back at the police department. He tells him he has videos of him selling meth on 2 controlled buys that Grayson had set up. The body cam footage was obtained exclusively by Invisible Institute, IPM News, and Illinois Times through a public records request. Atkins is sitting in a chair while Grayson stands behind a desk. He dials a contact in his phone labeled Chief of Kincaid and asks the person exactly how he should charge Atkins. DJ Mathon was and still is the police chief. The answers are somewhat hard to hear.
Is it intent to deliver, just possession of meth? What do we put on that?
Do you have anything on that?
No.
I would just do intent to deliver.
Okay. Then there's a baggie, but I wasn't going to mess with field testing it. I didn't really care that much. It was just like a baggie that I didn't really care to field test it, to be honest with you.
Throughout their interaction, Grayson tries to convince Atkins to set up controlled buys with other supposed drug dealers in the area.
Like, obviously, I got you on camera on 2 buys. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. That's why you're here. That's why I was able to arrest you today. Okay, so I had 2 informants who I busted for something. They did 2 buys off you. So today, I'll give you the same opportunity.
Atkins continues to deny selling meth.
I didn't sell because I don't fucking sell this shit.
I mean, I've got you on camera.
Then let me see it. Let me see the video.
You'll see it in court. It's going to go to court.
Atkins was released later that day with a notice to appear in court. Because his car was impounded, he had to walk home.
Just couldn't understand why he was even trying to charge me with this shit,
But state police certification records show that the day after the felony charges were filed against Atkins in Christian County Circuit Court, Sean Grayson left the Kincaid Police Department. His case dragged on for 2 years, and Grayson never showed up to court like he was supposed to. Prosecutors finally dropped the case after his public defender filed this video in court. His defender also never saw any videos of the alleged controlled buys or any records of an actual warrant. But the issues of this case didn't stop Grayson from being hired at 4 more departments after he was terminated from Kincaid for refusing to live within the village boundaries. Police accountability and legal experts say that instances of dishonesty or questions about his credibility should have been reported to state authorities and documented for future background investigators. However, our reporting shows that few steps were taken, even when authorities were aware of his misconduct, to stop him from simply getting rehired at another department a few miles away. Lauren Jones is the criminal justice director with Impact for Equity, a public interest law firm in Chicago. She says there were many opportunities throughout Grayson's career to stop him from getting to Sangamon County and killing Massey.
It just shows several layers of failure to hold oneself accountable and the officer that is engaging in misconduct accountable.
And the case in Kincaid wasn't the end of issues with Sean Grayson's credibility. He later went to the Logan County Sheriff's Office, where he also ran into trouble. During a disciplinary interview after a traffic stop, Chief Deputy Nathan Miller can be heard on video bringing up incidents from other departments he worked in.
I also know that you've had a lot of cases presented in other jurisdictions that were never prosecuted, correct?
Yes, all my cases in Auburn were dropped after I left.
Miller goes on to say this is, quote, extremely concerning, but he declined to formally discipline him. We're still waiting on more records of cases Grayson was involved in as an officer in previous jobs, including Auburn. Which brings us back to the question, why was Sean Grayson hired as a deputy in the Sangamon County Sheriff's Department in the first place? Answers may be hard to come by, but Kyle Atkins understands one of the effects of letting officers like Grayson slip through the cracks. A few weeks after Kyle's arrest, his girlfriend, Brittany Myers, was arrested in Kincaid by Chief Mathon on drug charges too, and her charges were also later dropped. He's now left Kincaid and rarely returns to the village where his arrest led him and his girlfriend to lost jobs, loss of visitation with kids, and broken relationships with family who believed they were guilty of the crimes they were accused of.
It rubbed our names through the dirt, but
Everybody believes a cop.
Reporting for IPM News and Invisible Institute, I'm Faye Anderson.
This story was produced in partnership with the nonprofit newsroom Invisible Institute and the Springfield-based weekly newspaper Illinois Times. It was also co-reported by Sam Stecklow and Dean Olson. And finally, in your forecast, meteorologist Andrew Pritchard says today will be mostly sunny with a high of 87 degrees. That's it for today. 2 and 7 Today is produced by Stephanie Mosqueda. Reporting today contributed by Jim Meadows, Anulika Ochuba, Kulsum Khan, Farah Anderson, Sam Stecklow, and Dean Olson. Music by the Kilbourne Alley Blues Band. Reginald Hardwick is our news director. I'm Kimberly Schofield. 2 and 7 Today is a production of Illinois Public Media. Thanks for listening, stay safe, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.